Hi friends, in today's class we will discuss Ministry of Cooperation. Ministry of Cooperation. So the term ministry denotes the union level. The term ministry denotes the union level. Normally at the state level we don't use the term ministry. We will use the term department. He is a minister responsible for Department of Animal Husbandry. He is a minister responsible for Department of Finance. But whereas at the union level we will use the term ministry. He is a ministry, belong to Home Ministry, belong to Finance Ministry. So the ministry itself denotes the union level, and at the union level we have started a new ministry called Ministry of Cooperation, and the in charge to this ministry is our Honorable Home Minister Amit Shah. So why the union government has started this new ministry called Ministry of Cooperation, and who dealt this particular cooperative sector earlier, and what was the genesis of that sector? Now why it has necessitated to create another ministry? What is the problem? Why union is bringing this ministry? Is it the purview of union? What are the judgments of the Supreme Court with respect to this cooperative sector? We will discuss in this class. Now when it comes to the Ministry of Cooperation, now first I will give a brief history about this cooperative sector in our country. See, what does it mean, this cooperative sector? What does it mean, this cooperative sector? Cooperative sector means normally how production happens. There are two things, one is a socialistic model, second one is a capitalistic model, broader level. In a socialistic model, the state itself starts the unit, and the state is the owner, and the people has to work, and they will get the in return wages, and whatever the profit they will get, again it will be reinstated in the same unit or in another unit. That's all depending on this state. The state is an owner and the state will take a decision, but whatever the profit that you are getting, again it will be reinvested on the people itself in one or other form. In another case, in private production, the private person will brings the capital and he will starts the unit, and he will provide employment to some people, and once that employment they got, in return they will get the wages, and the remaining profit it will be taken by the investor or the entrepreneur, and this profit either he can invest or he can save or he can do anything. It is up to the investor. So these are the two different models. But cooperative society or the cooperative sector is another model which includes the combination of these both the techniques. How it includes the combination of both the techniques? Now the small producers, producer 1, producer 2, producer 3 and producer 4. I am just giving an example. 4 producer comes together and they will do the production combinedly. Production in the sense the matter involves with respect to the production or the means of production as jointly used by these 4 people, and they will do. Once the production is completed, they jointly sell this product outside, jointly. Now whatever the money they are getting, whatever the money in return they are getting, that will be equitably distributed. That means equitably in the sense based on their investment, equitably they will get the whatever their own share of revenue. If at all any extra profit is there, then profit is again reinvested in the sector, or they can use it for other purpose, or they can share among themselves, but again these four people decides what that profit can do. So it's not an individual ownership, it's not an individual ownership, it's a collective ownership. Collective ownership and collective decision making to achieve a particular goal, that is what exactly the cooperative society is all about. So cooperative means the producers are cooperating with each other in order to achieve a particular goal, and in that process they are taking a collective decision and they are also equally sharing the profits. And if at all any extra thing you want to reinvest, they will cut down their profits, but again they will invest it for the common good of the members of the society or the members of that group. So here profits are not taken away by one particular person, but it is not started by the government. That means it included both the aspects of this both capitalistic model and socialistic model. This is what exactly the cooperative sector is all about. Now, who can start this cooperative? Who can start these cooperatives? There are various types of cooperatives in our country. There are various types of cooperatives in our country. Producer cooperatives. Producer cooperatives in the sense, the producers themselves start a cooperative. That means all the producers want to come together and they will try to produce combinedly, or they will, even if they produce at the individual level, but they will try to market at the combined level. Take the case of farmers. Take the case of farmers. Whether it is sugarcane farmers, whether it is any horticulture related farmers, they will start their own welfare association called cooperatives. And in that what they will do? They will combinedly grow. Combinedly grow in the sense they will grow on their individual lands. Everyone is having their own individual lands. But what type of seeds must be used, what type of fertilizers must be used, and how we need to harvest the crop, and how we need to farm the entire field. So this is a collective decision. Now that after the growing of entire crop, now they will sell it to the some other trader in an external market or in an outside the village. The point here is the producers are united together for the production process. Sometimes they may do production at a one particular place, sometimes they may do production at different places, but the decision pertaining to that production will take collectively. This is what producer related cooperative societies, producer related cooperative society. So that may be the agricultural farmer like sugarcane farmers, because that is so famous in India, maybe in the state of Maharashtra, Karnataka it is there. Take the case of dairy farmers. Yes, they will produce the milk at their home and they will maintain the standard without adding much amount of water to that, and they will bring all that milk to a particular place and they are the owner to that particular unit, that we call it as a cooperative dairy, and here they will sell their produce entirely to this, and from here you will do a market outside the system, that means outside that particular village. So the point here is individually the person is not producing, but some producers are combining together to produce. Then the point is, why individuals are coming together to produce? Because the bargaining power at the individual level is very less. The bargaining power at the individual level is very less. And if they are collective, then the bargaining power at the collective level is very high compared to that of individual level, either to purchase the inputs for the production or to take necessary steps for the good productivity or to get the good market for the produced amount. You need a collective bargaining, and because of that collective bargaining, everyone can get a benefit from that, rather individual level. Okay, so this is what the producers related cooperatives. Next one. Consumer related, that means consumer cooperatives. Consumer cooperative means they are not the producers, but you want something, I want something, and everyone want that. Now why can't you form a cooperative society, and why can't you decide, okay, how much we need to import that item or how much we need to purchase and at what price and how we can distribute among ourselves. So a producer organization is also a consumer organization, because a producer needs a raw material, and at that point of time they will act like a consumer cooperative. That means they are consuming someone's product, and if they are at the combined level, they can use it in an efficient manner, they can get a qualitative product, they can get at an affordable or an economic price. So this is what the consumer cooperatives. Next. Credit cooperatives. So credit cooperatives means here we are not doing the production combinedly, but only thing what we are doing is, in order to meet our own needs, either it may be a production of good or production of service or anything, and in order to meet our criteria or our requirement, we formed as a society, and in this society everyone will contribute some amount to this society, and whoever need credit from this, they can take credit from this society. This is credit societies. So we are all members and we have some money with us and we have deposited with this credit society, and whoever is having a requirement of money, they can lend it from the society. So this is a mutual help to each other as far as these credit facilities are concerned. So that is credit cooperative societies. Like we will have the housing cooperative societies also. Housing cooperative society means, again we'll come together and we'll put some money and we will try to construct some houses and we'll try to take that. So this is what exactly the cooperative societies works. So cooperation means rather at the individual level or neither individual nor state. So here neither the state is involving nor the only private investor is involving, but here group of people among themselves starting the units or creating an organization to support among themselves for the betterment of their life or for the betterment of their livelihood. So that is what exactly the meaning of these cooperatives. Now we will have these type of cooperatives in our country. So either it may be related to production, or it may be related to consumption, or it may be related to credit, or it may be related to any housing, or it may be related to any other activity. But the motto is like we are coming together and we are doing that work and we are sharing our profits equitably. Now, when actually this system of cooperation has started in India, see, there was a history of 1870 when there was a famine in Madras province, and in order to provide some sort of relief from that, then the British government has started a different models, and from that actually it has evolved. But first time in the year 1904, the Britishers passed an act called Cooperative Credit Society Act. Cooperative Credit Society Act. So what does it mean? What does it mean? See, the government must be a facilitator to these type of things, and government must be a regulator to these type of things, because government as an individual may not have a full potential to provide the employment or to assist the persons at the individual level in their production process. At the same time, private people may not intervene into every aspect of the society, and even if they try to entering into the every aspect of the society, they may not reach to everywhere in the country. So somewhere you need to combine the producers together and let them start their own process, let them cooperate among themselves, let them self-reliant on their own, and for that governments will provide some sort of assistance. Assistance may be some sort of the process or administrative and legal assistance, and even it can be extended up to financial assistance also. That means the governments will provide some sort of financial help to some of the cooperative sectors. But anyhow, over a period of time, gradually it is coming down, but normally governments used to provide or inject some sort of liquidity either in terms of a working capital or in terms of an equity they used to do. But at the same time, when people with their mutual trust, the only point that which can connect everyone is here, it is the trust. And when as a trust you people come together, then if something mischief happened, then it is detrimental to many people in this country. That is the reason why government has brought an act to facilitate and at the same time to regulate the cooperative sector. And in the 1904, when we have brought that legislation, it is only focusing on this credit aspect. It is focusing on credit aspect. That means they haven't recognized the every society that you are forming for the production or consumption or any other purpose. The government first recognized only the groups which are started for the distribution of the credit. So only credit societies are recognized initially, and these credit societies normally we talk in this cooperative sector like Primary Agricultural Credit Society, PACS we call it as Primary Agricultural Credit Societies. So initial recognition were given to these credit societies, but not all other societies. Next, immediately in the year 1912, they have brought in another legislation called Cooperative Societies Act. Cooperative Societies Act. Cooperative Societies Act. So Cooperative Societies Act of 1912 now is for all societies, not only confined to this credit. Not only confined to this credit. Now it is available to all. So all societies are recognized. Now, in the year 1919, reforms were brought in India. We call it as Montague-Chelmsford reforms. Under Montague-Chelmsford reforms, subjects were divided between both federal and as well as the provincial. Now, under 1919 Montague-Chelmsford reforms, the concept of cooperatives were transferred to the provinces. That means it will be brought under this provincial list. That means the provinces can make their own legislation according to their own needs, because some states need dairy cooperative, some states need credit cooperative, some state need farmer cooperatives, some state need weaver cooperatives, like many things. So it was completely transferred to the provincial subject in the year 1919. So that means now the states got the power, to regulate the cooperatives in that respective state or in the territorial jurisdiction. Again 1935. In the 1935 Act, again it was sent to this provincial. Actually it's state list, union list, concurrent list was there, state list. Now what happened is, while it has given to the state, a question has arisen. A cooperative society may not be confined to only a particular state. A cooperative society may not be confined to only particular state. Suppose if the cooperative society is acting in more than one state, or if the members of that cooperative are hailing from more than one state, then who has to control or who has to regulate? This was the question arisen. Then in order to solve that problem, in the year 1942, Multi-State Society Act was brought. 1942 Multi-State Society Act was brought. So this is to regulate, or this is to facilitate the cooperatives which are working in more than one state, or which is drawing its members from more than one state. Next, now we got the independence, and after we got the independence, we framed our own constitution, and in our constitution there was a schedule called 7th schedule of the constitution, and in this 7th schedule of the constitution we are having a 3 list called union list, state list and concurrent list. And under the state list, under the entry 32, then the term cooperatives were mentioned it. That means now the cooperatives were under the state government. Now the cooperatives were under the state government. Then what about Multi-State Society Act? It is still applicable. Because there are some societies which are acting at the national level. So that is regulated by the union government. But the point here is, though the cooperative word mentioned under the state, but union is also started exercising its power as far as the multi-state cooperatives are concerned under the entry 44 of union list. Under entry 44 of union list, what was there under 44? If cooperatives were mentioned under the 32, I will come to that later. But the word cooperative mentioned in this 32, and that is why states are exercising. Every state has their own respective legislations and respective administrative machinery in order to solve the problems or in order to promote the cooperatives. But union is also exercising its power to regulate the multi-state cooperatives under the entry 44 of union list. Now, okay, once you understand this, now what happened to these cooperatives? So these cooperatives have started functioning well, and in the initial years, especially even during the first 5-year plan also, the government of India has promoted this cooperative farming and also collective farming. But collective farming is somewhat a failed thing, and it was failed in other countries also. Mostly it was experimented in communist countries. But cooperative model, we have given lot of importance to this cooperative model, because a country like India with a huge amount of population and with a huge amount of geography, and it's not possible either for the government alone or the private sector alone to provide the employment and to start production process in this country. That is the reason why this cooperative sector was also promoted. And even Reserve Bank of India has also appointed some committees on this cooperative model, and based on that committee, actually that committee was appointed in 1954. Based on that committee, we have started a board called the National Cooperative Development Warehousing Board, National Cooperative Development Board, National Dairy Cooperation Development Board, NDDB, like these National Dairy Development Board, like these are the things we are started over a period of time. But one area where we have succeeded more as far as these cooperatives are concerned is dairy sector, Now in some case of animal husbandry, fisheries, they have started cooperatives, and even waivers they have started cooperatives. But one of the important sector that we have able to achieve some sort of success and we are able to access ourselves is in the dairy sector. And I think you are aware about this experiment of Amul, Anand Milk Unit Limited, how it was started in Gujarat under Tribhuvandas Patil and the Korean. They have started and now they are so successful and it has become one of the international brand today. This is one of the model that we have studied, and when this has become success, we wanted to extend it to the other area and we wanted to promote more and more cooperatives in the dairy sector itself, and we have tried to expand it to the other sectors also. So that means we have done lot of work on these cooperative societies. And if we take the case of Maharashtra and Karnataka, these sugar related cooperatives are very high. That means all the sugarcane farmers came together. Now they are growing their own sugarcane, but the sugar farmer can get good remunerative price only when they have the processing unit at their closest distance, because as the time passes the sugar content in the sugarcane comes down. It may not be profitable for that. But who has to start that company? Some private person has to start company. But will really the private people comes and starts you, and if the private person comes, then he may take away the profit. So why can't we start our own sugarcane units? So that is how all the sugarcane farmers came together and they have started their own facility. That means their own processing or sugar manufacturing unit. Then these farmers, okay, who are all the members of this, they will come and they will sell it to this, and this unit will start producing sugar and they will sell it in the market and they have to repay the money. And if at all you get any profit, either it can be shared among themselves or otherwise they will reinvest in the same unit or they will go for the other development work. That means some sort of responsibility towards the society is there under these cooperatives. No one can dictate that responsibility, but as the owner is an every individual farmer or an every individual producer or an every individual stakeholder, then definitely that will be something, it comes with some sort of social responsibility. But anyhow, so the government of India from the since first 5-year plan and after through various establishing various boards and promoting various schemes, we have promoted cooperatives. But as in the constitution under entry 32, the cooperatives comes under the state government. The state governments are trying to control this entire cooperative system in their respective states, and especially at the state level, you are having the state commissioner and the state registrar. You will have the two authorities called both commissioner and registrar. These people will try to regulate it, and there is a separate department at the state level. There is a machinery, administrative machinery, and there is a legal backing, because each and every state has their own respective cooperatives acts, and under that they will try to supervise, they will try to promote, they will try to regulate the different aspects of the cooperative societies, and they will manage the cooperative functions on their own. But the governments used to prescribe in what way you need to govern your cooperatives. That means there must be a chairman, there must be a board, and board members should take a decision, because for every small decision you cannot invite every member or every stakeholder into this discussion process, but these people must elect democratically. That election process, powers, audits, regulation, everything, it is prescribed by the state governments. And suppose if any cooperative society want to go for any new innovation or any upgradation or any other thing, yes, they have to get the approval from the state government. Under the state government you will have the registrar and commissioner, and once you get that approval you can go for the expansion, and audit will be done and the state government officials will come and they will audit it. That means it is supervised by the government, so that any mischief should not be happen, because after all it is a trust based organization. That means with the mutual trust this is running, so it should not act like a disadvantageous to some of the members of this. We have to protect the interest of every member, especially the poor people who are joining in this. So that is the reason why there is a clear cut regulation, there is some sort of transparency, and moreover there are some checks and balances because of this. Until and unless there is hand in glove with these members and government, but otherwise the framework has fixed in such a manner that yes, there can be a transparency and there can be a regular checks and balances for this entire system. So this is how it is going on. This is how it is going on. Now, if you looking into, yes, for sugar, for milk, for credit societies, for milk unions, like for waivers, for other crop growing people, like we have started units and state government is regulating with their respective legislations. Now I will come to the multi-state cooperatives. Multi-state cooperatives. Okay, multi-state cooperatives. So for this multi-state cooperatives, already the act was there in the year 1942, but again we wanted to modify that 1942 act, and we have brought a multi-state society act in the year 1984. Multi-state society act in the year 1984, and finally we have brought another comprehensive act by repealing all the acts in the year 2002, that is Multi-State Cooperative Society Act. Multi-State Cooperative Society Act. Okay. So 2002 we have brought. Now this particular act is regulating, the multi-state cooperatives. I think now you understood what is a multi-state cooperative. Now the question is, when the word cooperatives mentioned under the list 32, and how the union government is regulating, because I already told the 44 entry in the union list. What this is saying? This is saying incorporation, regulation. That means the union, the 44 is saying incorporation, regulation, and winding up of corporations. Winding up of corporation, whether trading or not, with objective not confined to one state. That means though they haven't used the word cooperatives in this, but under the broad category of corporation, if that entity is operating in more than one state, then it will comes into the hands of the union. With that logic, union government since independence they are regulating these multi-state cooperatives, and even they have brought the act in the year, a comprehensive act in the year 2002 also. Now okay, what's the problem then? If some of the cooperatives are working at the state level, if some of the cooperatives are working in more than one state, then what is the problem? The problem, I'll come to that problem, but before that just I want to give you, if the total cooperatives are concerned in this country, the number is so huge. I am not getting into the details of the total cooperatives, but I can give the dairy cooperatives are 1,94,195. So 1,94,195 cooperative dairy sectors are there in this country, and 330 sugar cooperatives are there in our country. Sugar cooperatives are there in our country. But anyhow, when it comes to this multi-state cooperatives, the number of the multi-state cooperatives is around 1,479 multi-state cooperatives are there in our country. And in the Maharashtra itself, 567 such cooperative societies are there. In the UP, 147 cooperative societies are there. In Delhi, 133 are there. So this is the states are having highest number. Now in this cooperatives, that means 149, 104,479, the credit societies are 16. That means they are going to provide the credit. The credit societies are 16. The agro based societies, that means whether it is about the sugar mills or whether it is about the spinning mills or weaving, so that agro based related societies are 244. These agro based societies are 244. Next, multi-state cooperative dairies. Multi-state cooperative dairies are 96. Dairies, multi-state cooperative dairies. Multi-state cooperative banks are 66. Multi-state cooperative banks are 66. Now you will get a doubt. What is this cooperative credit societies? What is this cooperative banks? What is this cooperative credit societies and what is this cooperative banks? The difference between cooperative credit and cooperative bank is this will do the banking functions at a wider manner, but this is only confined to their own members and their scale is very less. And Reserve Bank of India don't consider this as a bank, it is administered at the state level itself, cooperative credit societies. But whereas cooperative banks, now I think you have a Banking Regulation Act of 1949 and in the 1965 we have made an amendment and even in the year 2020 we have made an amendment. Now under this amendment, now the cooperative banks, though they are cooperative, because in cooperative banks you have rural cooperative banks and urban cooperative banks, now they are comes under the strict purview of Reserve Bank of India and they need to maintain CRR, SLR and all that banking functions it will do. That is why it comes under the regulation. But anyhow, so this is what the numbers of different cooperative societies under multi-state cooperatives. Now who will regulate these multi-state cooperatives? The law says that the central commissioner. The law says that central commissioner. So where this central commissioner sits? The central commissioner sits at Delhi. Now he need to overview or he need to looking into the performance of these multi-state cooperatives. For the anyway in the act it is mentioned like central commissioner will looking into that, but in practice the state commissioners are only looking into the functioning of this. But it is not mandated on state level officers to overview the function of multi-state cooperatives because they are completely dealt under the Multi-State Cooperative Society Act. The problem with this organization is, the problem with this type of this commissioner is, this union government don't have enough resources at the state level to looking into or to look after the functions of these multi-state cooperative societies. If it is a state registered society, the financial and administrative control is rest with the state. So state's approval is necessary for most of the things, whether it is expansion or winding up of or anything. But whereas in case of these multi-state cooperatives, as the Delhi is not accessible to them and the Delhi don't have enough manpower and enough administrative structure at the grassroots level, and the supervision of these multi-state cooperatives is very less compared to that of the state registered societies or the normal cooperative societies which comes under the state list, that means which comes under a particular state. And because of non-interference from the governmental sources, lot of mischiefs are happening with respect to these multi-state cooperatives. So like they are bringing some sort of these Ponzi schemes. I think you know what is this Ponzi scheme. So Ponzi scheme in the sense they will collect money from every individual member and they will run away with this money, they don't give any return to this. Then who has to regulate it? It's not a cooperative bank, but it's normal cooperative society under the purview of union government, and union government don't have a machinery to look after this. You have delegated to some extent this function to the state, but state is not an authorized person, it's not the responsibility of the state to do so. So some are becoming Ponzi. some are becoming bankrupt, some are become inefficient, some are unable to modernize or unable to upgrade themselves. They don't want to use technology. Simply they are running because they are having some members, and unfortunately this has become a tool for politics also. Politics. That means now anyway when you start a society, initially it was good and you are able to attract some hundreds and hundreds of members and even sometimes thousands of members. Then the leader of this particular union, he has become a local politician. Now he elevated to the other positions in the politics, maybe MLA or MP. Then he started controlling this entire society, and the decisions at the society will be in tune with the political interest of that particular person. And ultimately if most of the societies are under control of the ruling party, then ruling party try to take the decisions in favor to their own political party. So that means for what purpose we have started these cooperatives, unfortunately they have politicized. Moreover, there is no control because union government don't have that flexibility. At this juncture, we want to start a new cooperation or a new ministry of cooperation at the union level. Why we wanted to start the ministry at the union level at this juncture? Because if you looking into the demography of India, if you looking into the geography of India, if you looking into the cultural aspect of India, you cannot simply say like I'll start an industry and you all people should come and work here so that you can take the wages every day or every month. See, this complete industrialization model may not suits the every pocket of this country. Okay, some urban areas, semi-urban areas, it's fine. But there are some people, let us take the case of tribals, they don't have education, they don't have the modern skill set that what you are calling. How can they will work in an industry? They are depending on their own the minor forest produce. Now you have to start a society, you have to promote there and you have to promote them through the societies and you have to increase their incomes at that level. Take the case of agricultural farmers, they don't know the skills, they are not educated. They don't know about this modern industrial process. So what you will do? So you have to enhance the value of their product at their village through this type of cooperatives. That means the cooperative model will bring a lot of success in implementing because this is also one of the economic model and we have implemented it in dairy sector. We are also now implementing in some of the aspects like animal husbandry we are doing, like in fisheries we are doing, like in weaving we are doing. So the point here is, if at all we want to provide the employment and the high income levels to rural people and even in urban areas also these will work, but along with your whatever the models that we are suggesting, this cooperative is also another model that can really save the India, that really saves the Indians. So that is the reason why we need to enhance this cooperative model. Suppose you just learned a new skill, some other person has learned the new skills. So why can't the skilled people come together and why can't you decide your own strategies and why can't you make your own plan? Why can't you start the production in a combined, or otherwise even if you want to do it individual level, but why can't you come together and so that you can get the input at a cheaper rate and so that you can sell your output at an affordable price. You can collectively bargain with the government, you can collectively bargain with the people, you can collectively bargain with the market. So the point here is that is how the cooperative sector has gaining its relevance, because as the population is increasing, as the educated people are increasing and still some sort of disparities are there and the growth is not completely reached to the rural area, this is a sector going to provide a lot of benefits to us. But the organizations which are promoting this sector has now in a pathetic condition. Some are politicized, some are not modern, some are unable to cope up with the new technologies, some are unable to change their trends according to the market variations. So this is the problem with that. Now the cooperative societies are now they are going to administer from the union level, and if we have the ministry at the union level, probably we can supervise more and we can inspect more and we can promote more, and we can even regulate more. So that is how you can really make sure that these cooperatives functions well. With that intention, we have started this cooperative ministry at the union level. The details are to be awaited. That means how they are going to regulate and how they are going to work, and how they are completely different it from the way how they functioned earlier. So these things we need to wait and watch. But there is a serious question here. I'll put a serious question. I myself said cooperatives under the state list under entry 32 of state list, but multi-state cooperatives are regulated by the union government. If it is a cooperative banks, it is by the Reserve Bank of India, both urban cooperative banks and rural cooperative banks. And apart from that, you will have this cooperative credit societies, they are again under the state government. If it is a multi-state, again it is under the union government. So some are under the state government, some are under the union government. When some are under the state government, some are under the union government, but not administratively, but as far as legislatively also. That means the 7th schedule mention about the cooperatives here, but they have given some sort of provision to the union government to regulate if a corporation is having its reach in more than one state. Now, can union start a ministry on their own without consulting the states or without taking the necessary steps to that? So now you may argue that if that cooperative ministry is to regulate this multi-state cooperatives, then there is no problem. Multi-state cooperatives, then there is no problem. But if that ministry is going to control both the multi-state cooperatives and also the state registered cooperatives, then the problem comes. Because this is completely under the 7th schedule of the under the state list of 7th schedule. Union alone cannot take it unilaterally. Now, I'll give you some judgments and later I'll come to some of the reforms that are necessary here. In the year 2011, we have brought a constitutional amendment. In the year 2011, we have brought a constitutional amendment, and it came into effect from 2012 February to 2011 December. We have brought it. What is that constitution amendment? That is the 97th Constitution Amendment. 97th Constitution Amendment. So what you have done under this 97th Constitution Amendment, you brought some changes. But why you brought that changes? Because I'll tell you the reason and I'll come to that, what are the changes we have done. So there are some weaknesses in the operation of the cooperative societies, both at the state registered societies and both at the multi-state societies. There are lot of inefficiency is there. So in order to remove that weakness, in order to safeguarding the members of that cooperatives, and in order to protect the interest of the members of cooperatives, and even the election process in the cooperatives also getting delayed, and the board will be there without elected members for a longer period of time. There is no accountability, there is no professionalism. So in order to solve this problem, in order to bring some sort of autonomy, in order to bring some sort of democratic style of functioning, and in order to bring some sort of professional management, we have brought amendment in the year 2011. But prior to that, I want to give one more information about Vaidyanathan committee recommendations, Vaidyanathan committee, and also Chaturvedi committee. Chaturvedi committee. So the Vaidyanathan committee was appointed in 2004. The Chaturvedi committee was appointed in 2009 to look after the recommendations of to look into the recommendations of the Vaidyanathan committee. So what is this Vaidyanathan committee and Chaturvedi committee recommended? See, both the Vaidyanathan committee and Chaturvedi committee is completely focused on how to improve this cooperative system. And here the Vaidyanathan recommended for short-term cooperative credit structure. So the government must give some sort of credit to these cooperative societies so that they can meet the short-term credit needs. Likewise, Chaturvedi is recommended for long-term. And institutional reforms must be necessary. Vaidyanathan has recommended. Quality of the management must be improved. The financial assistance must be given. The self-reliant should be the criteria for the revamping or reviving of these cooperatives. So likewise, the Vaidyanathan and Chaturvedi has given lot of recommendations on this cooperatives. Based on this recommendation, and ultimately we have brought a reform in the year 2011 under 97th Constitution Amendment Act. So what we have done under this? We have done three things. First one is we have included a point 43B in the Directive Principles of State Policy. 43B. So you can understand what is Directive Principles of State Policy. The state must promote these cooperatives and the state must strengthen these cooperatives. And one thing, 19(1)(c) we have added to the Constitution by making forming a cooperative societies as a fundamental right. So every person in this country now have a fundamental right to start their own cooperative, and it is put some responsibility, placing some responsibility on the union to protect this and promote these cooperatives because they are very important. After that, we have added a new chapter or new part in the Constitution. This is the new part. So what exactly this part will do? This part has added a new thing, and in this new thing we have divided it into two: the state registered cooperatives and multi-state cooperatives. So multi-state cooperatives. So what they have added under this? So they added lot of provisions under this, and that provisions are related to the directors, how you need to conduct the elections, how you need to submit the audit reports, what is the term of the members, what about the reservation criteria, reservation category. Like these things were added in both the aspects. But one thing you need to understand here, when they have added this part into the Constitution, the Parliament of India has amended the Constitution with the two-third majority, and they have added these two aspects. Now this, whatever the points that I am saying now, like whether it is about the election, it is about the governing, it is about the audit, it is about the term, it is about the reservations, it was added into the Constitution by the Parliament of India with the two-third of majority. Now what you need to understand here is an item which is under the state list, this part, not this part. An item which is under state list has unilaterally amended by the Parliament of India without seeking the approval of the state governments. Because our Constitution says, if you want to amend any federal part of if you want to amend any part which is related to the federalism, then half of the states must get the, half of the state legislatures must give the approval to that amendment, and unfortunately it is not, it is missing here, and only union government unilaterally changed this portion. Now immediately the case went to the Gujarat High Court. Some NGO has filed, because union is not having, the Parliament of India is not having a complete jurisdiction to do that amendment, and ultimately it was struck down in the Gujarat High Court. Later an appeal was moved to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court also struck down this states portion, not entire portion, the state cooperative portion was completely struck down by the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court said, if you want to amend any portion of the constitution which is affecting the states, then you must take the approval half of the state's legislature approval. So it got struck down. Now tell me, we have a cooperation ministry started at the union level. According to the Supreme Court judgment, can the union ministry have a right over the state subject directly? No. But there was a one judge, there was a dissenting judgment was also given in this, and he said like, actually the word cooperation mentioned it in the state list. In the central list there is no word called cooperation, so this entire amendment itself is wrong. The center is not having any power at all as far as the cooperative is concerned. That's a minority judgment, but the majority judgment said like, okay, you cannot intervene into the state's rights. Now we have created a new cooperative ministry, and this new cooperative ministry, it want to streamline or it want to improve the performance of cooperatives, but can it really intervene or can it really interfere with the functioning of the state level or state level registered cooperative societies? The Supreme Court judgment say like, no, the union is not having any power. Union is not having any power. But one thing they can do, suppose if you are able to bring a new amendment, and with that amendment, new constitution amendment, to make a rule both at the state level and as well as the central level, but if they pass with the 2/3 majority in the parliament, and if they are able to get the half of the states approval, they can do that. But until and unless they can't exercise any overriding power on the state cooperative societies, though the ministry is created at the union level. And earlier these state cooperatives were completely under the control of state government, and in the state government, based on the state, some states have cooperative minister, some states supervised by the animal husbandry department, in some states it was supervised by the agriculture department. But at the union level, these multi-state cooperatives were earlier supervised by the Ministry of Agriculture. Ministry of Agriculture earlier, but now it comes under the now it has become the separate ministry. Now it has become the separate ministry. But as long as you don't do these type of amendments, you can't exercise the power over these type of cooperative societies. So once you understand this, now I'll try to give some sort of advantages of these cooperative societies and what you need to do in order to improve the cooperative societies. See, when it comes to the advantage, very simple, very flexible. So not so stringent provisions as far as the societies are concerned. People can voluntarily come, they can form a group, they can register with themselves, they can share the information, and if government is giving any assistance, they can take the credit, they can implement their own plan, and they can get benefit out of that. So it's very simple, very flexible, voluntary in nature. Moreover, the democratization is there here. No individual, so democratization, no individual player or superior here. Everyone is having an equal right. So though you are contributing more, but when it comes to the voting right, everyone is having one vote. So just because you deposited more in a credit cooperative, or just because you are supplying more to the cooperative society, you don't get extra right. Every individual person will get one single vote, and they will elect the people democratically. And if something goes wrong, they can remove that. And periodical elections, accountable system, everything is there. But as far as the implementation is concerned, to some extent some problems are there, but otherwise structure is good. Democratization. Next one is the liability part. Liability in the sense, suppose you have started a unit, and if something goes wrong with this unit and it went into the losses, suppose you have taken a loan from so and so, let it be just 100 crore, now you went into the loss. If you went into the loss, then individually you are not liable to pay that loan. So whatever the assets of that cooperative society is there, that will be sold, and that entire loans will be cleared. But there is no individual liability. That means I can call it as limited liability is there. So you are not fully liable to what happened here if any loss arises. Okay. Next, no middleman, better market. So you don't find any middleman here. Suppose you are having some product, you want to sell it in the market, you directly deal with this, with cooperative. So no middleman, and that too collectively are bargaining. So you will get benefit. So better market access, good bargaining facilities, and no middlemen. Next, everyone will work and everyone will get the benefit. You are not working for somebody else, you are working for your own organization. If because of your work, if your company, if your cooperative gets profit, then it will be again given to you, or otherwise it will be invested for your benefit only. So that philanthropic principle is there inside this, or in the cooperative structure. But the problem with this cooperative structure is, when this politics started entering into these cooperatives, that means they see this like a position. They see we can also show some sort of authority here. You don't consider it as a business entity. You are just considering it as an entity, it's a political entity, because you are not looking into the economic opportunity of the society. You are looking here, some hundreds and hundreds of members are there. They can be vote bank. So I can contest the election. So I will win. I will hold the post. I will misuse my post for the benefit of further individual growth. So likewise, in some of the states, some chief ministers, some of the ministers, some of the MLAs has raised to such a level, and that political intervention is creating lot of problem in this sector. And sometimes, even though some solutions are there in their hand, but they are good at not solving the problem, and try to stage the protest and try to create lot of problem to the administration. And when you know that these cooperatives are going to help the society, these cooperatives are going to liberate the people from whatever their pathetic conditions, why can't you promote it? Why can't you bring some innovative technology into this? Why can't you connect this cooperative with the global market or the market at the bigger level? And unfortunately, that modernization and unfortunately that new techniques are missing here. And most of the states, sometimes they are using these cooperatives as a tool of politics rather than a tool for liberation of people or a tool for economic empowerment of society. That is one of the problem. And somewhere the union government is seriously thinking about the amending 2002 the Multi-State Cooperative Act, at least to that extent, because the multi-state cooperatives are also so high. Because of this multi-state cooperatives, they are uniting at the different state level, they are uniting at the national level. I am not saying like that unity should not happen, unity should be there, but unity should be worked for the benefit of the people, but not to do the politics. because this is not a political organization. If you are interested in politics, you can go and join a national party where it has its own presence in every state and you can play, but you don't want to do that, and you want to entering into these multi-state cooperatives and you want to influence across the different states. That is something wrong. So that is the reason why the in the 2002 Act, I think the Union Home Minister has said we are going to consider this 2002 Multi-State Cooperative Act so seriously. We will bring lot of amendments to this, because the present form of legislation is unable to supervise the multi-state cooperatives in an effective manner. I just said what is the machinery and what are the requirements that the central commissioner is having at the local level or at the grassroots level. They don't have. So that is the reason why, in order to improve the working culture and in order to bring some sort of checks and balances, in order to bring some accountability and transparency, now they want to bring an amendment to the legislation so that they can regulate it effectively. See, when it comes to the regulations is not a good idea. But the point here is, when the institution with a business motto, if it is running, and if you want to interfere to stop that process, or if you want to interfere to gain something out of that, that interference is wrong. But your purpose is something and you are not doing, you are deviating out of your purpose and you are going with different thing like politics, then definitely we have to set right that, because lot of people are depending on this. And this cooperative sector is having a capacity to really bring a lot of change in our society. So that is the reason why they want to bring this amendment to the multi-state cooperative societies. We don't know whether the union is planning to have a complete control over all the cooperatives, that we don't know. But the point is, as far as the Supreme Court judgment is concerned, perhaps it is not possible now, but the government is saying like we will do this at least Multi-State Cooperatives Act, so that we can separate these multi-cooperatives and so that we can promote these multi-cooperatives, because they are very, very important. Because they are very, very important. So this is what about this cooperative societies. This is what about cooperative societies and the newly formed ministry, and what are the problems with the cooperative societies and how we can really overcome the problem, and what are the Supreme Court judgments on that, and how we can really improve that. And for that, definitely Union Ministry will bring an amendment. Then at that point of time, you have to be very clear about those amendments. Okay, because there are some loopholes in the act and they wanted to plug out those loopholes. Okay, so this is what about this Ministry of Cooperation and multi-state cooperatives and state registered cooperatives. So state registered cooperatives, it's completely the duty of the state government to function it well, and if union want to control, then there must be a constitution amendment. But anyhow, whatever the new modern mechanisms that are available in the economy, that we must give it to the people, that we must give it to the cooperative society, and we must enhance their own capacities, and so that we can utilize the cooperatives to its fullest potential, then definitely we can get lot of benefits from that. Okay, thank you.
Amrita IAS Academy.